Hello and welcome to another license to sale video tutorial. This is video 3, the study bank. So we are in our third mate unlimited license profile, and we're going to look at generals, and we're going to look at the study bank. So I've kind of given you a glimpse of the study bank before in the subject structure, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth. So when you get to this page, you're going to see your license and all. So this is all the questions you're studying for pertaining to your license. So how the Coast Guard does it is on their website. If you go to the example tests and you go to download the example test from the module from your license, before you click on that download link, you look at the below that and you'll see all the categories associated with that module for your license. And that's how it works. So whatever category shows up there and is all the questions that pertains to that category is going to be linked to that module. So if we click on questions here, here's every single question in the bank for that pertains to your license. So you can see that GDID 3 is missing because you don't need to study that question for your license, for your third mate's license. But if you go to all questions bank right here and hit questions, this is every single question that's in the bank. But we're going to focus on your license. So here's all the questions here pertaining to your license. And then we have categories. Categories is all the categories that have shown up under your module for your license. That's going to show up for here. It's going to show up here. So if you want to actually study, fine tune your studying for a category, you can pick on blocks and tackles, and they'll pull up all the questions that are blocks and tackle. And you could actually test the categories. If I click on this test this category, it's going to pull all 103 questions, and you're going to test over 103 questions for that category. I've also divided it up by illustrations. So you can study by illustration. So like this illustration only has 3 questions. And then your example test. These are the example tests that I have released over the years. How that works is the Coast Guard will will change their sample exams on their website every September. That's to gear up for the next fiscal year, because the government fiscal year starts in October. And so they'll update all the questions. And that's when I go in and download everything. So I have an archive of a ton of Coast Guard exams for the past 8 years. Or past 6 years, as you can see here. And I've labeled them as kind of the next fiscal year. So when you get if you download, it's 2025 right now, December 2025. If I were to download an exam today and look at the bottom, and you'll see a date, it'll say 2025, September 2025. I've labeled that exam as 2026, just kind of because they're gearing up for the next fiscal year. These questions are released for the next fiscal year for people to study off of. So that's the reason why I've labeled it 2026, even though I don't have the 2026 questions. These are just from the exams from 2025. All right. So when you go into your questions and you start to study, here is kind of your, here is what it looks like. So at the top here, this check mark here, if you know the question for sure and you don't want to see it again, because you're going to answer it 100% of the time, you can click on that and it'll become a green check mark. Over on the right here is your alert button. So if you see something wrong with this question, and you think it needs to be corrected, if you click on that button, it'll actually send me an email of that question, and you can write in the notes what's wrong with it. But yeah, that's a good way to report questions if there's a problem. This star button right here, if I click on it, it just stars it. So if you want to go back to the question, you can star it. So like maybe if you keep getting it right all the time, but you're still unsure of that question, you can star it to review later. And then this button right here is your bookmarks. If I click on that, I can bookmark my place in the question bank. And then you see your question ID. Every question has its own custom ID that I've generated for it. And then your subject, and then your subsubject, and then you have your question body. And then right here, you have Neptune. Neptune is AI. So if you've got a newer iPhone, like an iPhone 16 or above, you can use the on-device language model to kind of help you explain that question more offline. Now, it's not very accurate because it's a very small language model, but it can help you kind of understand the fundamentals. So that's on device. If you have access to the internet and you're subscribed to the app, you can click on ChatGPT, and it'll send this prompt. It'll send a prompt to ChatGPT with the question, and then you can actually ask questions about the question you're trying to understand. But next to it is this little brain right here, and that is actually pre-rendered ChatGPT. So I've actually run every question through ChatGPT to create an explainer. So if you don't have internet and the Apple AI is failing you, you can go to this explainer and kind of get a little bit more information on this question, and it's helped a lot of people. Now it's probably some of them are probably inaccurate, so take it with a grain of salt, but it could help you understand kind of the concepts of why that question is the way it is, or why the answer is the way it is. In the middle here is your illustration button. So if an illustration shows up, that'll show. So we can go ahead and thumb through and try to find an illustration. Oops. Keep going. Well, I haven't seen one yet, so I'll probably show y'all. Let's go back here to illustrations. So like for this one, there it is. If I select it, the illustration shows up, and you can pan it around and zoom it. All right, let's go back to questions here. So for bookmark, if I click on this bookmark here, it'll go to that question 1. So like if I go to question 7 and then bookmark it here, and I go back, I can click on that bookmark and it'll give me a shortcut to that question. All right, so we went over the illustration here. Right here is notes. So if you click on that, you could either draw. So like if you're doing like a little math equation, you can draw on here. It's really great on iPad. You can use your Apple Pencil, or you can type information, and then you can save it. So that's if you want to make a quick sticky note on the question you're studying for to help you understand it more, or make a little like note like, hey, remember this, I don't know, like you have like an acronym or something for the question. And then over the right here is your solution view, and then you got your question choices. So if I pick a question and I get it wrong, it highlights red, and if it's right, highlights green. Obviously in study mode, it'll automatically show you your correct question. And then at the bottom here is where your place is in the question bank. And then if you hit show answer and flip through the questions, it'll just show the answer. Because a lot of people like to study the question, and then the answer. Oh yeah, so you see this right here, this blue check mark at the top. That's your verified questions. So verified questions are questions that have actually shown up on the sample exams. And then also, they're the questions related to the questions that showed up on these sample exams. So like, let's say for instance, there's a question um, that showed up on the exam and it has a particular illustration to it. All the other questions that have that same illustration are going to be automatically be verified because those could show up on the exams as well. So yeah, the verified checkmark is questions that have actually shown up on the exams before that I know of. Now, a lot of these questions that aren't marked may have shown up on the exam, but you're not sure. So that's a good way if you want to study for the exams. Maybe like a week before the exams, you could go through all the verified questions. And then over here is this little speaker button right here. This actually has the
in small craft terminology, which term is
has
used
the AI
to identify
talk.
all of the.
All right. So that's your study bank here. All right, so let me explain more of what's going on up here. So you can search for any questions. So like if I type in boat, there it is. You can find all the questions that have boat in it. But this picker view right here, if I select this check mark here, this shows all the known questions that I know. This one shows all the missed questions. This one shows all the starred. This one shows all the verified questions. And actually, if you select it, it actually filters down to the verified. So there's only 271 verified questions. And then this plus here is all the questions that I've just added or just updated in 2026. So next year, you'll see 2027. So that's kind of a brief overview, the gist of the question bank, study bank, how that works. The next video tutorial will be about elimination mode.